Outlast is a first-person survival horror game by Canadian studio Red Barrels Inc. that was originally released in 2013. The game came out during a great awakening in the survival horror genre on the PC, with other titles such as Amnesia: The Dark Descent and Slenderman also breaking onto the scene to scare the pants off of even the bravest of thrill seekers. And just like the titles above, Outlast puts added emphasis on the survival part of survival horror, as you have no means by which to defend yourself from the horrors you witness. In lieu of high-powered boomsticks, your only options are stealth and/or running for your life, which, coupled with some excellent chase music and Miles' panicked, belabored breathing, you're really gonna feel like you are just narrowly escaping imminent peril. From some references made in Outlast's original trailer that aired in 2012 to a few interviews with the Koei devs, we know that the game's plot was in no small way inspired by both Operation Paperclip and Project MKUltra, two events that actually took place in a dark part of US history. The devs state in interviews that they were fascinated by these two events and how they might play out in a more contemporary setting. I've done a bit of research and will post my sources in the video's description. Now, with everything set up, won't you join me on another deep dive down the rabbit hole? Let's start with Operation Paperclip. During the course of running for his life in the female ward and uncovering some truly inhumane and mind-bending shit, Miles Upshur can find an excerpt that makes mention of Project Paperclip. This document gives the real historical context of what Operation Paperclip actually was. The document states that Paperclip provided, quote, a means of obtaining services of foreign specialists for specific assignments within the technical services of the Departments of Army, Navy, and Air Force. A second point underscores the aim of Operation Paperclip: to appropriate the minds of former Nazi war criminals in order to ensure their very capable intellects could not be harnessed by potential enemies, such as the Soviet Union. We also know through various documents Miles finds pertaining to Dr. Wernicke that he was one such Nazi scientist recruited through Operation Paperclip. Murkoff is well aware of his service through this program and seeks him out after his retirement for their own nefarious purposes. Now that we've established the in-game relevance, let's dive into the history of this incredibly controversial government operation. Operation Paperclip was a secret US intelligence program in which more than 1,600 Nazi German scientists, engineers, and technicians were taken from former Nazi Germany to the US for government employment after the end of World War II. The operation lasted from 1945 to 1959. Many of the personnel the US appropriated were former members and some were even leaders of the Nazi Party, who probably should have been brought to justice. The primary purpose of Operation Paperclip was to gain advantage over Soviet Russia and other communist regimes during the Cold War and space race. It should be noted that Soviet Russia did something similar, relocating approximately 2,200 German specialists and appropriating them as resources in 1946. Finally, I just think this is a really cool detail from the actual history. A Polish scientist found the Ozenberg list, which was a document containing many of the names of Nazi scientists, engineers, and technicians that informed the recruiting efforts of the United States and its allies. But here's the kicker. It was recovered from a toilet at Bonn University after someone had apparently attempted to stuff it down said shitter. You just can't make this up. Given his repulsive demeanor, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if Dr. Wernicke's name were on the Ozenberg list. Our next topic is none other than Project MKUltra. The first document Miles can find that makes mention of this really fucked up CIA-led operation can be found in the basement near the stairwell. This is an actual document that was uncovered and released to the public after a congressional investigation of the CIA and this project. That is just fucking cool. Obviously the names have been changed since the original names were redacted, but the CIA did actual hypnotic experimentation on often unsuspecting and non-consenting individuals in an offshoot of Project MKUltra called Operation Bluebird. The location of the experiment detailed in this document has also obviously been changed to Mount Massive, the asylum Miles investigates. But this document ties Project MKUltra directly to the events that unfold in Outlast. Mind equals blown. There's also another document containing special research notes, hypotheses, and objectives pertaining to MKUltra experiments conducted at Mount Massive. Now that we've established that actual government-led experiments occurred at Mount Massive, let's look at the history. For starters, what was Project MKUltra? MKUltra was a top-secret project by the CIA in which the agency conducted experiments on unsuspecting US and Canadian citizens. The purpose of these experiments was to study the potential of psychotropic drugs for mind control, information gathering, and psychological torture. The project lasted from 1953 to 1973, but details did not surface about this program until 1975 during an investigation by the US Congress. Just like with Operation Paperclip, the program started due to fears during the Cold War that communist regimes were using mind control to brainwash US POWs during the Korean War. Project MKUltra was the response designed by the CIA to this apparent threat. This program involved more than 150 human experiments, though that's contestable due to the CIA's having destroyed many of the records pertaining to this project, who administered psychotropic drugs, paralytics, and electroshock therapy, sometimes without the subject's knowledge and/or consent. Many of these tests were conducted at US and Canadian universities, hospitals, and prisons. The two most damning aspects of this project are the following. 1. A responsible government agency violated the rights of unwitting US and Canadian citizens, treating them as little more than lab animals. And 2. A responsible government agency committed human rights violations under cover of darkness and with a criminal lack of oversight. Need more convincing? Let's talk about Operation Midnight Climax. This was an operation that involved having government-employed prostitutes lure unsuspecting men to CIA safe houses at which drug experiments took place. CIA agents observed the effects of psychotropic drugs behind one-way glass to study their effects on the unwitting subjects. There were also recording devices within the test rooms that were disguised as electrical outlets. This operation in particular had very little oversight, and many of the agents described the test environment as more of a party atmosphere, one going so far as to admit in a correspondence to Sidney Gottlieb, quote, "Of course, I was a very minor missionary, actually a heretic, but I toiled wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, and cheat, steal, deceive, rape, and pillage with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest? Absolutely despicable." The devs at Red Barrels Inc. did an excellent job with their historical research, which is part of the reason Outlast plot is so engrossing. The history that they bring to life right before the player's eyes informs the characterization of notable characters such as Dr. Wernicke, as well as what makes the human experimentation at Mount Massive so fucked up. I hope you've enjoyed your time down the rabbit hole with me. As always, leave a like if you like, a dislike if you don't, comment, subscribe, eat orange slices angrily, whatever you gotta do, really.